Good morning, everybody. Welcome to New York. Welcome to Innotribe. Thank you for being here. So, welcome to day 2. Before we start on day 2, I just want to sort of look a little bit back to what happened yesterday. Yesterday was an amazing day for us. We had packed sessions. We filled the plenary room with our Future of Money. We had over 1,000 people up there. So thank you very much for your support. The coffee bars, thank you as well. We've got through over 1,800 cups of coffee. So thank you for your support there. They've still got a lot more, so keep on going over there and drinking. But to give you a real wrap-up of the day and a flavour of what happened yesterday and some key takeaways, I'd like to welcome our Day 1 anchor to join me up on stage, Michelle Zappa. Michelle? Morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Kevin. So thanks for being here. Yesterday was quite a full day, and I'm sure today will be as impressive. We had an extensive schedule yesterday. We kicked off today looking at the industry challenges and the companies that are working, some of the companies that are working in the space. After that, we talked about, oh, where's my summary? Disappeared. See if I remember everything. After that, we talked about John Hagel and Val Shrivnas talked about disruption patterns and methods for preparing yourself for impending disruption happening for industries or companies. We looked at the fintech hubs here in Switzerland, so the companies that are working on financial technologies across the country. We had a packed session in the plenary looking at the future of money, very exhaustive look at what's happening, especially with the relationship between money and other forms of data. I ran a session looking at financial technologies from the point of view of how to tell science fiction apart from science fact, and looking at how technologies that begin as ideas eventually end up developing into actual products. And then we had a look at patterns. And then we had a wrap up with. Sorry, blanked. Then we had a wrap up looking at the. We had a wrap up looking at the things that happened yesterday, and. With that, I look forward to today. I think it's going to be a long day full of content and interesting ideas. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Michelle. Now, you may have seen Michelle looking a little bit puzzled. We had a slight technical snafu there. That was the wrong slide. So we did everything that he said yesterday. We started off with disruption patterns, and we jumped in over lunchtime to look at fintech hubs in Switzerland and had a really engaging discussion there. After that, we were up in the main room with the plenary, and then Michelle ran us through emerging technologies. So for tomorrow, we'll try and get this one right. But unfortunately, yeah, slight technical snafu. Michelle, thank you very much for bravely going through. But well done. Louise, we'll try not to do the same for you tomorrow, but who knows. With that, this morning, we wanted to talk about one of our innovation programs that we run. It's the Startup Challenge. This is a competition that we run every year to look for emerging fintech companies who are active in areas where our customers are. This year we took the decision that rather than running a global program and having a final here at Sibos, we wanted to look at what was happening on the ground in 2 key markets. And so we partnered with 2 of our regional conferences in Latin America and in Africa. So this morning we're going to take a deep dive, not into what these guys are doing in Africa, but to have a look at the realities of operating on the ground. So to do that, I'd like to welcome up onto stage from Swift, Dennis Kruger. Dennis, if you'd care to join us up here, we're going to have a little chat. So thank you very much. So first of all, Dennis, why Innotribe and why did you invite us back?
Why did we invite you back?
Yeah.
To the African Regional Conference?
Yes.
Well, I think originally when we talked about it, I mean, it was something out in the air. But I think the experience which we had in Mauritius, I mean, it was overwhelming. I think in Africa, you've seen it in many articles. They have an opportunity. They might. The perception is that they're behind, let's just say, what's happening in Americas and other parts of the world. But I think that's also the opportunity. And from the many startups that we had in Mauritius, and we have 3 gentlemen around the table, the finalists, you will see that they have had the opportunity to almost leapfrog. Well, not almost. They are leapfrogging. So they don't have the legacy. And, I mean, the experience from the delegates that attended the African Regional Conference in Mauritius, it became huge. I mean, the first time we had it was in Cape Town. Yeah. So it was something new to people. But I can tell you now, the people that came to the African Regional Conference, which we had in the beginning of May this year, people put it in their diaries. It's become we need to go there. So it's almost as if it's Innotribe, and then we have the African Regional Conference.
It's very kind of you to say so. Well, we mentioned the fact that we've got 3 of our winners here. I'm going to take a little bit of a backstage. I'd like to invite you to join them at the family table to talk about what's actually going on the ground, and so we can get to meet these guys. Dennis, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, let me get my notes up. Okay, we're just going to go around the table and we're going to do some introductions, your startup, who you are. And we're going to start on the left. Cedric.
Hi, I'm Cedric Atangana. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Infinity Space, the fintech company building WeCashUp, a universal mobile money API that enables online merchants to accept all the existing mobile money platforms that are on African continent. So here we are.
Thank you, Cedric.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Abraham Cambridge, the founder of the Sun Exchange. The Sun Exchange is closing the finance gap for clean energy projects in the commercial and industrial sector using a peer-to-peer crowdfunding model using digital currency. We transacted the world's first digital currency to solar energy asset transactions, and we're financing projects throughout the developing world, and particularly Africa.
Thanks, Abraham.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ahmed Kassim from HelloPesa. HelloPesa is a low-cost digital remittance solution that allows migrants in South Africa to send money across the globe.
Thank you very much for your introductions. I think before we get into the questions, I just want to say to the audience, if you have a question for any of the gentlemen on the stage, just stick up your hand. We have mics around and you can ask the questions. So I think before I get into the questions, just after your introductions, so what's very interesting to me is, so at what point did you wake up one morning and say, when did this idea come to you? Do you remember, this is what I want to do? Were you in the shower? Were you in the car stuck in traffic? Cedric?
In my case, it was a personal experience. It's a very difficult story to say, but I'll make it a little bit short. I lost my dad in Cameroon. I'm from Cameroon. He had a cerebral attack, and we took him to the hospital, and we didn't have enough money to pay for the fees, and we had to call our friends and families around the globe to send us money. So at that time, we didn't have any means of payment or any fast money transfer mean to get money to the hospital. So my dad died in my hands, and after that experience, I started working with Google, and while working with Google, I went to Kenya and I discovered M-Pesa, and I said, wow, if we had this kind of technology in Cameroon at that time, maybe my dad would be still alive today. So that's what motivated me to build a universal mobile money platform that can make cross-border payment and all over Africa. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Cedric. I remember you sharing it with Mauritius. I know it's a tough one, but Abraham.
Hi. Yeah. So I was running a solar energy installation company in the UK, where there's not much sun, and decided to relocate myself to Cape Town, where there is a lot of sun. Okay. And as a technical due diligence consultant for an energy consulting firm. I immediately recognized that there was no commercial and industrial sector in the solar energy space in South Africa, which is very surprising because electricity costs are increasing incredibly.
Yes.
Electricity is unreliable, but the reason why is that there's no access to finance. The banks are lending to very large utility-scale solar projects where the utility is the off-taker, but for a commercial industrial sector, there's very little finance options available. At the same time, the kind of crowdfunding phenomenon was starting around the world. So Kickstarter, Indiegogo, these kinds of applications, a lending club. So we kind of decided to merge and fuse decentralized financial technology with decentralized energy. And if you consider that we're now running an entirely silicon-based economy, you're basically creating financial tokens created on a silicon chip powered by electricity, and turning that into a silicon chip generating electricity, which it's a new economy, and that's why I find it most fascinating to be developing it in Africa where it's needed.
Well, we definitely need it. I think the solution that you come up with is groundbreaking. And my wife actually SMS'd me last night from Johannesburg, and a message read, "No power since 12:30." So we need to find solutions.
And that's in the daytime.
That's in the daytime.
Yeah, bright midday sun, no electricity. There's something going wrong there.
We have a solution. Yeah, Ahmed.
Yeah, so the Hello Group has been servicing the migrant community in South Africa for the last 10 years. So we launched a very successful prepaid SIM card, which allowed migrants to make discounted international phone calls. So going back to 2012, we had a subscriber base that exceeded many hundreds of thousands of customers. And these are the most hardworking, energetic individuals who make a sacrifice. It's an economic migrant. They move to South Africa so that they can support their families. So we undertook some research into how did they send money home. And the results were absolutely shocking. There was no formal way, no legal way for them to send money home. They were forced to use illegal, informal channels, commonly known as the hawalas, which was fraught with problems, expensive, delays, lack of transparency when it came to pricing. So we sat back and we thought there must be a better way of doing it. Researched the market, approached the South African Reserve Bank, our regulator, and at that point there was still no regulation in place. And fair play to them, within 6 months of us approaching them, they had implemented a raft of new regulations, and we had then applied and were the first recipients of an independent money transfer operator license. So this license allowed us to partner with whichever banks and partners in the rest of the world. And it's only been 18 months, but I would say the rest is history. It's been life-changing to these migrants.
No, I think it's. I think from the Sun Exchange, it's a different market to the two general. But I mean, you're competing with some of the other guys that are in the market. So what makes you different to these big guys?
I think not developing a solution in a fancy boardroom is a starting point. So we walk the streets, we understand our customers, we can communicate with customers in languages that they can understand. So our multi-channel marketing is in like 9 or 10 different languages, because for migrants, English is not their first language.
Yes.
Put up billboards, put adverts on TV, it's not effective. So knowing how to execute, building a trusted brand, using resources that you recruit from within the communities, all of these things go a long way to helping you succeed.
Thank you, Ahmed. And we do have the regulator in the room.
That's why I won't say anything bad.
Thanks. Hi, Tim. Okay, gentlemen, is there anybody in the audience who would just like a general question to these gentlemen's background before we get into some formal questions? Okay, so let's get into some formal questions. Since we have a lot of bankers around, so we had a list of questions. I thought let's just focus on the banks. So, Cedric, we'll start with you. How do you engage with the banks?
To start, I will explain our business model, our new business model, before we go into the banks. So today we started with CashUp to enable the people who have no credit cards and bank accounts on the continent to be able to buy online with their mobile, using any mobile wallet on the continent. So we started with the MNOs, the mobile money operators on the continent. So while studying the model, we saw that to operate, they need to be backed with a normal bank, a regulated bank. So for a mobile operator to have a license to operate mobile money, they have to work with banks. So that's the first step. So we have integrated almost 100 mobile money operators on the continent, and we work with their banks.
Yes.
So the main challenge that we were facing at the beginning was, we want to enable people in all the countries in Africa to buy online with their mobile money, but sometimes we face the break that in some countries it's very difficult to get money out of the country.
Yes.
So we changed our business model because at the beginning we were serving our technology to online merchants, and then we started working with banks. And generally, it's very difficult to engage with global banks because sometimes they are present in different regions where we have different regulations. So it's much more easier to engage with the local bank because the local bank is backed to the local central bank, and the rules that apply in these regions are very different going from one country to another. So we started going from one country to another one, from subsidies to the top headquarters. That's how we work with banks, and yeah.
Good. So I think, Abraham, you to a lesser extent.
Well, we're working in an entirely new sector. We're working in digital money, the internet of money. Even in California, where we're currently located, and in New York City, they're struggling to define this technology set. How is it regulated? How do we approach this new thing? So trying to regulate the internet in the early 90s, where is this going? What's it capable of? So those regulations are not in place. So we're self-regulating ourselves at KYC, AML. Obviously, those are the main concerns. You need to know where money is being sourced from. We are sourcing foreign direct investment from around the world directly into southern and eastern Africa. In order to do that, we're working with digital currency exchanges. Those digital currency exchanges, they are maintaining the relationships with the treasury, etc.
Yes.
Obviously, the main concerns as far as the regulator is concerned is understanding how much money is actually being moved, who's it coming from, and where is it going to. They just need to know. It's not necessarily our responsibility to report that because we're working with the digital currency exchanges. They are the gateway between the internet of money and the local currency system. So it is a new and emerging sector, and we'll gladly work with any regulator or bank that would like to understand how this is working, because we're doing good things. Slowing down or trying to throttle the innovation in this area is not a sensible thing to do when we're bringing in direct investment, secure investment secured by smart contracts and blockchain technology into Africa.
I think you just touched on a point there. So with the other two operations, it's smaller operations, but in your is there an opportunity to create jobs?
So we're already creating jobs in the solar installation sector, absolutely. But more than anything, we're safeguarding jobs. If we're reducing electricity costs for businesses to operate in Africa and provide them with a more sustainable and more reliable source of energy, then that's going to save jobs. It's going to create new jobs because it's going to be easier to manufacture, easy to mine, easier to process goods, ship goods, market goods. You need to have a strong energy section before you can build a sustainable economy.
Thanks, Abraham. Ahmed.
Our need for banks is not so much in South Africa due to the nature of the license we have, but our partner banks across the globe, and there's one bank in the room, I see the HBL team are there from Pakistan. We need these banks to partner to make the payouts to the recipients, the last mile. That's our dependency on the banks, not so much in South Africa. But they do fight for business because we need them to buy and sell dollars.
Yes. Yeah. So I think in summary for that question, I mean, to a larger or a lesser extent, you need to involve banks on your side. Question 2, and I think all of you seem to touch on some of the questions. So some of the other questions related in your answers. I think you also touched, is it easier with local banks or global banks? So I think maybe just a short comment from each of you. Is it easier with the local banks or the larger global banks to do business, and why?
As I already explained, it's much more easier to engage with local banks. And In our case, for example, the technology that we are building, we are renting it to banks to enable banks to reach the people who have no bank account. So they are using mobile money. So this technology is rented to bank, and we are the first to provide a universal API on the continent for the merchants and for the regulators. Because to come up with a model that can work, that can operate cross-border payments, it's really important to understand all the regulation in all the regions. So what we have done for 4 years now is that we have studied the regulations in all this part of Africa. We have a kind of rule book where we have the rules of all the regulators in all over the continent, and we have implemented it in our system, and we are about to release an API for our regulators so that they can see, because one thing that we were discussing with some regulators even yesterday here was, hey, you're doing great things, but how do we have a look at it? So today we have an API to enable the regulators to have a look at it and push up the financial inclusion through what we are doing. So.
You seem to be smiling through the whole conversation. So it's been a pleasant interaction with the regulators and the banks.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I'm sure there's a few bankers in the room, eh? Abraham?
I think from our own working in interactions with local and global banks, there's the need to become more familiar and more up to speed with the progress being made in the world of blockchain and digital currency. There's a lot of disruption taking place, and I feel that both local and global banks should be embracing these changes and looking at how we can speed up and reduce costs to businesses. We've already found a niche whereby people were looking to use financial services, provided that there's confidence for the investors. So by using blockchain smart contracts, we can increase the flow of money. And that's something which we'll gladly work and speak with any bank that wants to work with us on clean energy projects to help deploy.
So is there any coincidence that it's a Sun Exchange, the exchange part of your company's
Yes, so
name?
the solar assets which are purchased or acquired through our website can be traded. So we're going to be opening up a secondary market for liquidity of solar asset trading. And it's all going to be blockchain based, so there's going to be a legacy, an oracle of information there, so of energy consumption data, meteorological data, and solar production data, which is all available as big data.
Okay, I'm getting a signal there. We need to. So final comments from you.
From our experience, it was actually much easier dealing with the foreign global banks, because I think the local banks, we went to them with this idea 4 or 5 years ago, and they thought it wasn't worth the shot. And I think today a lot of them regret it.
Thank you, Ahmed. So I think, gentlemen, thank you very much for the very informative conversation. From a SWIFT perspective, I think there's an opportunity for standards here somewhere in terms of the regulators. So maybe we need to talk to regulators how we can provide them with standards. I think from your side, GPI, how can we track the payments end to end, or do you already have that solution?
We already have that solution.
Okay. So we're clearly behind you, eh? Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. And back to Kevin.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 winners from Africa. Now, if you'd like to find out who next year's winners are going to be, there's a very simple way to do it. Come along to the competition. So we're going to be part of the African Regional Conference again this year. If you look on the chairs, there's a save the date card. It's in the Ivory Coast on the 16th to the 18th of May. We'll be there with the latest upcoming fintech firms from Africa, bringing them to the community, and we'd love to share them all with you. If you want to find more about what these 3 guys are doing and get more insights on what's actually going on in the ground in Africa, they're here all week. They've got a home on the exhibition floor. Part of their package this year, we wanted to really expose them to the global banking audience. So if you want to sit down with these guys, they've got meeting pods, they've got sofas. They're over in stand B80. It's over by the Finextra area, it's over by Hyperledger, it's over by the stairs going up to the plenary. Go over there, sit down, spend 5 minutes with them, understand what they're doing, and understand how you can get involved. We ask these guys here because we really believe in what they're doing, So we want to give them that opportunity. To look forward into what we're going to be doing for the rest of today, whilst you're not speaking to these guys, I'd like to welcome up on stage our day anchor, our global head of HR here at Swift, Louise Costa. Would you like to join us up on stage? Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Kevin. So, welcome to day 2 of Innotribe, which is going to be as great or even greater than yesterday. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to look at how to organize for complexity. So it's a complex world that we live in, and organizations are getting more and more complex. How do we organize for that? How do we take the next step into organization and leadership? We're also going to look at FinTech hubs. We're going to look at EMEA. We're going to do that at 12:45 here. And then we're going to finish off with a situational awareness maps. And what is that? That is how we navigate through as businesses strategically. How do we understand to play the chess game with no board? And then at the end of the day, we will do a wrap-up closing session. And I invite you all back here in 2 minutes to kick it off with how we organize for complexity. Thank you. But before you do that, don't forget that every time you go to grab a coffee, or even if you don't, throw in some money in the donation box as we are trying to support Save the Children for the Italian earthquake appeal. For every money you throw in, Swift will match that to ensure that we can bring the best support to the people suffered through the earthquakes. Do not forget to rate the sessions you attend. You can either do it through your app or you can do it on the wall outside. 2 minutes, back in here, and we'll teach you how to navigate the complexity and reorganize leadership. Thank you.